Good evening and thank you for joining us. Ontario Premier Doug Ford believes the path for the province to become a global leader in the mining of rare metals begins right here in the Northwest.
The Premier visited this afternoon to announce his party's new critical mineral strategy.
Global businesses are searching for the materials, expertise, and human power needed to build technologies of the future. And I'm here to say, once again, look no further. That's why I'm so excited today to release our government's critical mineral strategy.
Ford met with workers at the mine during this afternoon's visit. The PC plan focuses on improving supply chains, attracting investment to the province, and ensuring Indigenous communities benefit from the minerals extracted from their traditional territories. Ford notes minerals like palladium are key for a green economy.
Automakers all over the world are ramping up production of battery-driven electric vehicles. As everyone knows, Ontario has been a leader in North America's auto manufacturing industry for 100 years. And where the minerals come from for the batteries is right here in the north. And our government is working day in and day out to keep us leading the way for the next 100 years.
We'll have a full report on Ford's announcement tonight on the Late Edition News.
Starting Monday, just as students return from March break, masks are no longer required in most indoor settings, including schools. The Lakehead Board had asked the district's medical officer of health to extend the mandate in its classrooms, fearing further spread of COVID-19. But as Vasilios Bellos tells us, Dr. Janet DeMille has rejected that request.
Last Friday, the Lakehead District School Board voted in favor of requesting Thunder Bay Medical Officer of Health Dr. Janet DeMille to extend masking requirements in local schools. Based on provincial legislation, Dr. DeMille does have the power to impose public health orders at a local level, though at this point will go along with the province.
It's really the purview of the provincial government about the decision around the masking, and I think it's been sort of clear that that's the direction that they wanted to go in. But I will not be issuing any further instructions or any orders to keep that.
Premier Doug Ford was questioned about the Lakehead District School Board's masking request, stressing we should be listening to the province's top doctor.
Some of these school boards, they think they're medical experts. I listen to the chief medical officer. That's something that the local medical officer should be calling Dr. Moore and having him up.
While Dr. DeMille will not be posing mask mandate extensions at this time, there are other public health guidelines she stressed parents and students will need to follow to prevent the spread of COVID-19. This includes students staying home if they have even mild symptoms, if someone in their household is sick, or they have been around someone who has been exposed to the virus. Also mentioned was vaccines as a crucial part of keeping the virus out of schools. The 5 to 11-year-old group has just over 64% with one dose, while over 38% have two. While the health unit will be following the province's masking rules, an increase in cases would mean reconsidering public health protocols, according to DeMille.
If we do see a very significant rise in cases, then something would, maybe more might be needed in that case. But even, like we have a high level of immunity or protection with our vaccination rates, and even, the natural immunity that many people have acquired in the past couple of months because of the numbers of cases that we've had.
The Lakehead District School Board is not alone in their masking requests. Both the Toronto and Hamilton Wentworth districts also want to push back against dropping mask mandates, concerned with what kind of COVID spread we may see in schools with one less layer of protection. Vasilios Bellos, TBT News.
The province has released some new modeling figures, and they show the number of COVID cases and hospitalizations likely to go up over the next few weeks. The Science Advisory Table says the increase will depend on people's behavior when mask mandates are lifted on Monday. We get more in this report.
As people across Ontario embrace gatherings and prepare to ditch masks in many settings, new modeling from Ontario's COVID-19 Science Advisory Table shows the virus is very much among us. It believes the province is seeing about 15 to 20,000 new infections per day.
We're the masters of our own fate. If we take it a bit easy not too fast, don't switch now immediately and say everything is fine.
The latest data shows case numbers, hospital and ICU occupancy have stopped declining, along with the wastewater signal and provincial test positivity rate. All this as the highly transmissible subvariant BA2 is circling. If behavior changes are moderate with relaxed public health measures, projections show hospital and ICU occupancy will increase, but is expected to be manageable, unlike the last wave in December, which prompted business closures and surgeries to be cancelled.
Since then, we made a lot of progress due to vaccination and due, of course, also due to a lot of people who got infected, meaning we built up a wall of immunity.
Progress many are hoping Ontario can hold on to.
Feel pretty safe because I had COVID in January and it was milder than the flu.
It's time to move on, but nevertheless, I think because we are where we are, because people were responsible.
I mean, for the foreseeable future, we anticipate not going to large events, just trying to make sure we wear masks.
Yeah, we'll see how things go. Everything changes all the time, so you have to adjust your actions.
Moving forward, the data points to the effectiveness of third doses reducing hospital and ICU occupancy, people having a complete series of vaccines as the best defense against picking up and spreading the illness, and that a mask protects the person who wears it and others around them.
It can go wrong. I think we will be okay, in many situations. But what, of course, just I'm not really sure about this masking in schools. Would it have been wise just to wait a few weeks longer?
Ontario is scrapping most mask mandates on Monday.
That was CTV's Beth McDonnell. For the second straight day, COVID numbers at the Regional Health Sciences Centre have gone up. There are now 27 COVID patients in hospital, 3 more than there were yesterday. There are still 6 patients in intensive care. That number is unchanged. The hospital's occupancy rate has dipped below 102%, while the ICU is nearly 73% full.
The inquest into the deaths of Don Mamakawa and Roland McKay will include video showing alleged mistreatment of another Indigenous person by Thunder Bay Police on the night that Mamakawa died in Thunder Bay Police's custody in 2014. The police service had tried to block the video from being shown, but Dr. David Cameron, the presiding coroner, confirmed that the video is relevant to the issues raised at the inquest. Specifically, quote, how racism, bias, and stereotyping may have been a factor in the Thunder Bay paramedics and police officers' interactions with Mamakawa and McKay. The video reportedly shows members of the police service dragging a man to his cell by his feet. Mamakawa was found dead in his cell after being arrested for public intoxication. Lawyers for the family contends the mistreatment shown in the video is disturbingly similar to that experienced by Mamakawa that night. A date for the inquest into the deaths hasn't yet been set.
4 people have been arrested, including 2 Toronto teenagers, after police seized drugs, cash, and a loaded handgun from a Limerick area home yesterday morning. Officers found about $47,000 worth of fentanyl and crack cocaine and more than $40,000 in cash. The 4 accused all face a long list of drug and firearms charges.
Thunder Bay's at-large councillors held a virtual town hall last night. They spoke about the indoor turf facility, a new police headquarters, and also the notion of disbanding the Thunder Bay Police Service and replacing it with the OPP. That question from the public was born out of frustration with the current police service and its board. A number of Indigenous deaths in the city are now being reinvestigated, prompting an apology from the board chair this week, while other municipalities like Dryden have replaced local policing with OPP. Some say Thunder Bay is too big to make the switch. Councillor Aldo Roberto doesn't think most residents are interested in a change, noting he hasn't heard that call from the public.
No one's asking for it. I've never, this in 16 years, one call, one email, one text asking if we could look into the OPP. And some of the cities that I've seen have switched over and some want to switch back.
Councillors at the meeting remain skeptical that there will be any steps taken to replace the police service during this term of council.
Oliver Papunja's newest city councillor is a familiar, or town councillor rather, is a familiar face to many in the community and has at times butted heads with his new colleagues. Rick Potter served 2 terms as councillor in the township of Oliver about 20 years ago. He stayed in tune with municipal politics through the years and was a vocal opponent of a failed proposal to amalgamate with Conmee in 2020. He fills the vacancy filled by a resident.
I'm just sort of starting right now and hitting the ground running. It's a great team. I look forward to contributing as much as I can to it. But certainly we have challenges like every municipality in planning and funding, basic infrastructure like roads. I mean, there's a lot of work to be done, and we've got a great team, and I'm proud to be part of that.
With the next municipal election just over 7 months away, Potter says he'll use this time to consider whether he might run again at that time.
Today is St. Patrick's Day. It's the first big gathering holiday since capacity limits were lifted, and bars across the city expect to be packed for the first time in nearly 3 years. Jessica Clement stopped by a couple of them today. She says staff and customers are excited to have a full house again.
Bars across Ontario have slowly been getting busier now that the government has lifted capacity limits indoors, and will only get busier this weekend. For most bars, St. Paddy's is their first big holiday since the pandemic, and the employees are thrilled to see everyone back after years of being closed or under a number of restrictions.
It's been a few years since we've been able to celebrate St. Paddy's Day. It's one of our biggest days of the year, so we're super excited to have everyone back.
Pretty exciting. It feels really good. We're excited to get back into the rhythm of things. It's been a long couple years, and we're just hoping that next week, without the mask, that we were able to get a little bit more back to normal.
The employees aren't the only ones excited about getting back into the rhythm of things, as customers are also excited that things are going back to normal and that they're able to experience being around so many people once again.
Oh, this is great. I mean, this is just great. You know, we've been 2 years without be able to come and have a good time. So it's pretty good to have it back again.
I think it's wonderful. I am so glad that they did this. I only wish I could be here without a mask on all the time.
Many employees anticipate that this is just the beginning and think that the bars are only going to get busier after the mask mandate is lifted.
Yeah.
Definitely been busier since the restrictions have been lifting.
Yeah, definitely. We're finding that every week it's picking up a little bit more. So as we're getting closer, especially to the mask not being around, I think that we're going to see a totally new week next week in terms of busyness.
Yeah.
Jessica Clement, TBT News.
Well, if you're still a little blurry-eyed in the mornings because of the time change over the weekend, it turns out the clock may be ticking down toward that twice-annual ritual being scrapped. John Venevali-Rao has more on the timeless debate over daylight saving time, which originated right here in Thunder Bay.
If you get cranky every time the clocks jump forward or backward,
we don't have to keep doing this stupidity anymore.
The push to lock the clock just got a major boost after the U.S. Senate passed the Sunshine Protection Act. The bill calls for the twice-a-year clock change that routinely throws millions of us off to be scrapped, a bill that still has to be approved by the U.S. House of Representatives and the U.S. President. Still, those pushing for an end to clock changes in Canada say it's now seeming inevitable.
I think we're starting to see that momentum, and on top of that, you've got the popular will behind it.
MPP Jeremy Roberts was behind Ontario's Time Amendment Act, which passed in 2020, spelling out that Ontario will switch permanently to daylight time if New York and Quebec do the same. A spokesperson for Premier Legault says Quebec is following what's happening in the States closely and is open to it.
The fact that they're open to it, I think that's the key here.
In 2019, BC also passed a bill that would make daylight saving permanent, but is also waiting on its American neighbors to follow suit. The first place in the world to adopt daylight saving was actually Port Arthur and Fort William, Ontario, which became part of Thunder Bay. In 1908, they decided to move the clocks forward for 6 months so they'd have more sunshine at the end of the day.
A lot of people in Thunder Bay don't even know that this is where it all started.
But critics note by sticking to daylight saving year-round, it would mean on December 21st, sunrise would be at 8:41 a.m. in Montreal, 8:48 in Toronto, and 9:05 in Vancouver and Fredericton, meaning kids would be going to school in the dark.
It's really tough in the winter, and people will not like it after they see what happens in the first winter.
Still, proponents say it's an idea whose time has come. John Venevali-Rao, CTV News, Toronto.
The arrival of warmer temperatures has essentially put an end to the local outdoor skating season. The city has officially closed all of its boarded ice rinks for the year. Warmer temperatures paired with rain this week caused ice conditions to rapidly deteriorate at city rinks. It's made for unsafe conditions, making the decision to close the rinks an easy one. That's according to the Parks and Open Spaces manager, Corey Halverson.
As we entered the first weekend of March break, everything was fully functional. Temperatures were still supporting the rink, so we were fully operational. But then, yeah, once we got into the first part of the week with the above zero temperatures and sun, it didn't take very long for the ice conditions to deteriorate to the point where we had to close the outdoor rinks.
For those still wishing to get one more skate in, the rink at Port Arthur's Landing will remain open until the evening of Sunday, March 20th.
Well, Fiona, it's amazing